All right, start streaming. So, hopefully this is going to start working. It looks like excellent condition. We are live. Rhys, how's it going, buddy?
Hello. Very good. How are you?
Good. So I'm gonna have to apologize if my audio is kind of weird. We had audio issues on the last feed. If anyone was watching or watches in the future, and we could only hear one of the two of us, and that's not helpful at all when I'm trying to have a Q&A with my amazing artist and friend Rhys Gwyn. Rhys,
That's right.
let's drag this out a little bit, but let's just tease us a little bit. Tell us, who are you? How we met, if you remember any of that. How this kind of started on your side before we get into the specifics of this glorious game that you've crafted for me. One of two. There'll be another video coming up after this one of the work he did for me on Sea Change, which I just had arrive one advanced package
Cool.
yesterday, so I haven't even opened it yet. So we'll do that on air on the next video with Rhys. But Rhys, take us back. Take us back.
Yeah. So my name's Rhys, and I am the artist on Seven Souls. And I think you sent out a call for artists ages ago. Well, not ages ago. What, over a year ago?
Yeah, just over a year ago.
Something like that.
But the weird thing is, and that's what I don't remember either, is you had to have reached out to me at some point.
Yeah, so I have to go back a bit further. So I was living in China and decided to move back to the UK and try delve into board games, and then managed to get a board game published called Museum Rush. And then I did the art for that, and then decided to start writing to companies. And I think I just got your Inside Up, like the name from a long list of names from an Essen booklet.
Probably, yeah.
And then started just emailing people, cold emails, I guess.
Yeah.
And and then at some point you emailed back, like as part of that artist call.
Yeah.
Or it was 2 games, wasn't it? It was.
That's right. Yeah.
So
so the crazy part was, so from my side of things, I'm not usually too much of a fan of cold emails, except, as horrible as it sounds, from artists and graphic designers, because there's a weird part of me that wishes I was more artistically capable. I used to love drawing when I was little, but I'm really bad at it. So I love watching artists work, and that always excites me. I do get quite a few through various means of people sending stuff over. And then what I'll basically do is I look at them for sure, and then I'll just flag them for the ones that interest me and then the ones that don't. And then the ones that interest me, I kind of just put them off into like a pile of like a imaginary Rolodex of artists that I want to then work with in the future if it works out. And that's what Rhys alluded to. So then I put out a call for quotes and basically said, this is the game, this is what's going on. And Seven Souls was there. And I think we had, I can't remember, 13 or 15. It was true. It's 13 or 15 different applicants, we'll say, I guess, interested parties. And Rhys and another artist were our top 2 picks. And it was very, very difficult. And they had very different looks. But me and my business partner, Joe, we liked them both. So what we actually did is we had another game coming out, The Quick and the Undead, which is releasing at Essen as well. And so what we did is we sent that game schematics to them as well, saying, hey, does this interest you? And if so, can you give us a sketch of this? So then we had apples to apples on 2 different games. And we said, okay, you know what? Let's go with this with Rhys and this with Pixie. So those are the 2 different kind of looks. And I am just, I'm jumping all over the place with the fast forward. I am just so happy with how this turned out, the look of it. And that's the one thing that's constantly repeated and really, catches players' eyes. We'll go into some online photos in a second, kind of show it off. But just like everything Rhys did just gets so much love because just the detail on it. And one of my favorite things, which those little extras that I love, is the art on the back of the board. Like, that's just a bonus for no other reason but because I love this piece of art. My wife says it looks like me, so I don't know if I inspired you for this piece or...
It must have subconsciously been in there.
Yeah, so it's just Like, yeah. And as I said, the art portion of the game is one of the most exciting parts for me. And Rhys, for any publishers out there, would highly recommend working with Rhys. He is great to work with, very easy, wonderful, excellent work ethic, and a wonderful human being. So, to get more into it now, and what we'll probably do is I'll flip over to our Tabletopia screen, so that way we can kind of look at stuff, and you can tell me what you want me to zoom in on and zoom out of. You can kind of talk about the different things, and I could bring over any sketches if you wanted that as well, because I'm basically just sharing this screen right now. But we'll jump into Seven Souls. Again, this is free to play on Tabletopia. It does do 1 to 6 players, and we just finished filming a how to play and playthrough video right before this, so that's available online, as you can see. But this is the game, this is the board, the table of presence it has when it's sitting on your table with your friends. I won't get into too much of the mechanics because really this is kind of going to be about talking with Rhys and kind of what inspired him. So part of me, Rhys, wants to save the revelation cards till later because it's one of the high points of the game. It was a Kickstarter stretch goal, getting Rhys to individually do each one of these cards instead of having one basic end game scoring piece of art. He went through and created an art individual for each of those end game goals, which I love. But we'll start, like I say, we'll show that last. It'll kind of be a pièce de résistance. So we'll start here with the game board, I guess. Or is that fair, Rhys? Where did the project start for you?
Yeah, we can start with the game board. I think the cultist card ended up being pretty close to the pitch that I sent to you.
That's right. Yeah. So you can talk, and I'll kind of just show people as you're talking.
And I think the final, apart from the background, maybe is pretty close to.
Her hair is the biggest change I noticed. Her hair was like coiled around her a bit more before. I think it was down.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I mean, yeah, I got that piece, and I was like, I'm in love.
Yeah, I think, and it was striking like that balance between creepy and dark, but still cartoony enough. I think was what I was trying to go for, which kind of worked for
exactly
for what you wanted for Seven Souls. Yeah.
Pardon me. And that it's important. Like even with Gorus Maximus, one of our other titles. Yes, it's gory, it's over the top, but it's still got a family-friendly feel to it. And that's what works really well here with Rhys's style, is that he gives this kind of dark, Lovecraftian color palette and feel to the art, but at the same time making it creepy and scary, but not. So you look at her hand. There's a bloody dagger, right? And there's a chopped up octopus or squid, but it's not upsetting to people because of how well, everything from the framing to the coloring to the lighting, like there's so much about it that works. So this was basically one of the first pieces he sent as a demo. The next one that I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is I feel like this guy here was one of the earlier ones as well.
Which one was that?
Oh, you can't see my screen. So this is of no help to him. So I wonder if I share my screen.
On the Tabletopia, yeah, I can see. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So on Tabletopia, basically this guy here, and if you push,
yes, absolutely, the investigator.
If you push spacebar on it, it'll zoom in on your screen in case there's any details you remember or want to mention.
Yeah, that was a good one. I actually remember the initial idea for this one being a little bit different, where he was a little bit further back, like the viewpoint I had. And
you could actually see underwater. You could see his legs, and he was walking on more skulls and bones.
But in the end, like the close-up, I think worked in that trying to get that claustrophobic feel of sort of unsure where he's going or what's around that corner in the foreground that you can just about see.
Exactly, which I love. And also it really works well, I feel, for kind of the 3/4 that you did for all the investigators, kind of making sure these cards kind of link together really, really well. And we have all 3 of the different investigator artwork up here, top of the board, which is really, really nice. So the board, because one of the things that from my side, once you send it to me, one of the things that I really liked about it was I was able to create this separation between the human world and then the Cthulhu world. So what ends up happening is we have the buildings, which create the separation, and the good, if you'll imagine, being above ground, right? We have all the investigators trying to fight for control, the investigator deck, and then the fear, the stuff that works against us in the game. All these things are above ground. Meanwhile, the tentacles and the power and the corruption are all kind of seeping up through the ground and held under this crust. So none of that is really anything that I had said to Rhys at the time. So this really came out of your brain. So what made you go with this route?
I think so. In preparation or in part of the process of researching the characters and stuff like that, I read a bunch of H.P. Lovecraft stories, and lots of them have to do with caverns underground and sort of not necessarily alien landscapes, but quite uncomfortable, unfamiliar landscapes. And I thought that it would work really well to separate the three areas sort of underground in that way, to add, something menacing, something bubbling beneath, but it's non-specific. It's just, you could read into it what you want to, or you could, look and see something in there. And I wanted to play with that a little bit.
Yeah, are these crystals? Are they teeth? Right, vines? Is it? And it's great in that it could be soft tissue, or is it crunchy? Is it right? What's creating the light? What's the dark? Why are these things here? And I think it works so well. And just the shape again, they get created there. Right? So the blessings are down here at the bottom, right? And then all the altars, this spacing is created so well. Where in my mind, it really created this beautiful harmony between the game, the board design, the user interface, and the art. And the one downside to this Tabletopia is that you don't get the spot UV, which we've put on the board, which helps all of this black ink and the spots really shine as you're playing the game and reaching for things. So then over here we have the very well-known Cthulhu. Was it hard to tackle a subject, I guess, that's been so recently covered so much by so many people?
Yes and no. I think the challenge is that, or the biggest challenge for me with the art was that in the stories, it's very, very, they're very, very vague. He doesn't really describe anyone in huge amounts of detail. Especially with the other characters, and also lots of people have already sort of made their mark with their version, right? And so you play this game of trying to create something that is familiar to people and not completely out of the blue or different to that idea, but then it's got to be your own at the same time. It can't just be what someone else has created.
Yeah, exactly. And I love it. I love the lighting you do. Like, it makes it feel like it's coming out of the water, or it could even be underwater because of those colors and the reflections and the. Right, I love what you've done. The altars. Now, the one mistake, or not mistake we have, but the one issue we have is this is set up for a 2 to 3 player game. So not all 4 altars are out right now, which is too bad because I'd love to show them. Because what Rhys has actually done is he's used the same area right here of this underground temple area, altar area, and it's changed through time. So as it kind of crumbles, I'm zooming in on these cards. Rhys can't see my screen, but so the moss growth, the water changes, the rock changes, and there's 4 different kind of stages and seasons and ages of these 4 altars. So when I asked for the altar cards, what kind of made you go this route?
I think if I remember correctly, I had multiple versions of this altar, but I wanted it to be a little different to the other cards in that it's quite a face on, like, quite a level image, right? There's depth in the same way. It has got foreground and background, but it's much simpler rather, and focuses on that statue and that archway.
Yeah.
And I wanted that specifically because I wanted you to be able to recognize it immediately, for it to be different visually, and that idea of the wall crumbling, to show the passage of time and revealing more of this Cthulhu statue.
And I kind of like it also in the way that
I just like the idea of that.
Yeah, and it's almost like, although it's crumbling, it's that wall is no longer separating the viewer from Cthulhu, right? The time eventually he's going to be revealed completely. Yeah, it's well done.
Yeah, I think that's a nice play with the viewer.
And then these guys here, the blessings. I can't remember what the original was, but I feel like it wasn't like this. I can't remember now though.
I remember the blessing. To be honest, I don't remember another version of the blessing.
Oh, so maybe I could be misremembering.
Unless they were initially different cards. I know some of the cards we changed.
Oh, that's true. That could be it as well. Yeah.
But I'm afraid I don't remember specifically a different one. I like this rubble idea.
Yeah, I do too. And there are 6 of these. Different cards for different end game, or not end game, but awards received throughout the game for different reasons. These are more investigator cards. So there's more of these guys here. These are the corruption cards. So we'll take a couple of these and we'll see if we can find different corruption cards. Yeah, there we go. So on the single corruption, we have this one here, kind of more of a blue tone to it, in the single corruption, and the same idea where this kind of led to a little bit of graphic design layout in the card itself because of that perfect circle in the middle, and the character before it, and then the double corruption where the power is gained by this thing. So if you want to talk about either of those, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, sure. These, I think these initially were very different, weren't they?
Yeah.
And we moved to sort of viewing them a bit differently. And so they became these. So these are not based on specific like images necessarily, but sort of interpretations of versions of Cthulhu characters. And I wanted something that you couldn't quite put your finger on what it was exactly, or what, we got that figure in the foreground, and why are they there, and what's the journey that led them there, or what are they trying to get from there. And I wanted this a scale, so they're much bigger entities than the figures, but then the figures are very different in their composure.
Yeah, and you're right, because
that worked with the color.
For the original ones, we had tried this like extreme close-up of faces and showing the different stages of fear.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, there was a girl with her hands in her face, like terrified.
Yeah, exactly. But I love the way these ones work, and like the brightness of them kind of, in contrast to how dark so much of it is. It's still the evil, but it's got that kind of bright, and it really, it's obvious when someone's got a success or even a double success because it really lights up the area as opposed to the horrors of the failure in the Cthulhu, which is really nice. So if we go down here and we look at so down in the middle, our 7 souls, or 7 characters are there. So which one was the most fun for you, and which one was the hardest for you?
I think the most fun that I had was with the, is it the Betrayer?
The number 2?
This guy?
Yep.
I think that's the Betrayer.
Yep.
I had a lot of fun with that because of trying to get just that feeling across. I wanted this, he's got this very slight smile and look in his face as if he's trying to gain your trust or trying to read you, but then this hand behind his back, and like what is that, and that character that's there, and why are they in that house or that home, and it's a bit derelict. Like I wanted that. I always wanted this feeling of discomfort and
the little Cthulhu on the mantelpiece behind it, the little glowing orb, right? All these little details of like, wait a second. Like compared to the others, it seems somewhat harmless at first, but all Rhys had to work off of, which was wonderful, was the names I gave him, right? So the prophet, the betrayer, the acolyte, right? The recruiter, the dark cardinal. So this one here, just kind of that. You're like, oh, it doesn't seem so bad, but wait a second.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I don't know if people notice, but there's the just the edge of the blade off
Right here,
his right shoulder, like it's just there. Um,
which is
so you know what
amazing.
it is, and then the scene I think becomes more sinister.
Exactly. It's so well done. And which one was the hardest?
I think in terms if you look at time spent, um, I think the it was a mix between the was it the Dark Cardinal and the um, this guy in the town, the
Recruiter.
I forget his name, Recruiter. That's right. Um, Trying to get that balance of what I wanted in terms of the background and the shadowy figures and that architecture, but then where he had come from. It took a while, like just in terms of hours, to get that image where I wanted it. But I was pretty happy with the way it turned out. He's a little bit more playful than some of the others, and I think that works really well with the sort of gothic background there.
Yeah, and I agree with the not the curtain, but the material flowing, right? Of like where has he come out of? Right, what's
Well, that's it. It
happening?
was supposed to be this venue, yeah.
Right, what is that place behind him? He's flipping the coin, like what's happening? All the shadows in the background. It's so well done.
And I don't know if you can see there are like I tried to get. I think there are tentacle shadows in each image somewhere. And so in the top left for him, there are those tentacles along the wall. And then for, I think it's in all, not everyone, but a lot of them, you have this creature in the background, this
Yeah,
unknown.
you can see it in the corrupt citizen up here really clearly, right? In the shape of the flames, you can see. So if people actually look into the acolyte, and with the blue card, you can actually see the other characters are in here, right? You can see one of the investigators is reflected in the flames, which is just awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
We're,
yeah, yeah.
we're almost out of time, so I'll quickly, because we're going to switch over to Sea Change shortly. But before we do that, let's go to one of my favorite parts, which are these revelation cards. So I'll flip them over up here on the top right, and we'll kind of go through them, kind of top to bottom, just on my screen as I'm zooming in. Unfortunately, Rhys can't see it, but just to kind of show you the detail and like the atmosphere that Rhys has captured is one of those things that I absolutely love.
I remember when you wrote to me about these characters, and initially I was like, "Oh my goodness, all these creatures I have to put together." But it ended up being just so much fun.
So a little backstory is that Jeremy Holmes of Blue Pig Pink Peg was our Lovecraftian advisor, kind of helping us to stay true, but also to avoid any sort of copyright issues. And so he came up with a little bit of our backstory about playing within the Lovecraftian world. And he loved these so much that he actually had them blown up into poster form and put them in his game room at
Really?
home because he just loves them. You can see why, like the detail. Like look at the Lang spiders, right, with the tentacles in their abdomen or thorax, whatever that's called on a spider. There's so many little things going on. This one I don't know why that one eye of Dagon, this giant shark. It looks so small. The color from space is just like it's a gorgeous piece of art, like for what it is and what's going on, and like the the bubbles almost that are coming off of it, like as if the deer was disintegrating and going up into space. Um, right, everything, all these cards. Players just get. And so one of the first things you kind of get to see at the start of the game, you're dealt two of these, and you can kind of pick them out. So here's Cthulhu again, coming up out of the water, by getting lit up by both the lightning and the lighthouse, the broken ships. Yeah, so
Yeah, it was
we're
just so much fun to do those.
oh, and Oh, I'm blanking. Oh my goodness. Shrub Shira. Oh goodness. The plant, basically the tree with mouths almost. It looks like um, coming through, and it's glowing underbelly. Right. I think they're so awesome. So much so, and I'll actually zoom back to our faces now on the feed so you can see both of us. But in the original box art, we actually had wrapped. Rhys had wrapped the art around the side so that you'd see the eyes, you'd see the water. We'd had these tentacles kind of coming in, and it wrapped the box really nicely, which is one of the things I love and I do for a lot of my box art. But once he sent me these, I was like, I can't. I need to use that artwork more. Like it's just, right, it just stands out so much, and the color palettes. Like there's, in a way, there's so many colors, but it's the right amount of colors. There's not too many colors. It's still all within a really nice, palette of colors. So if you cannot tell, I mean, hopefully by watching this video, you see as the designer and the publisher how excited I am for the product that Rhys, helped make real and stand apart. And we had one of these as a sample last year at Spiel. And people kept trying to buy it just from the box art. They knew nothing about the game. So as you can imagine, I'm a little disappointed that I'm not at Spiel right now with a palette of these things ready to show off, because the gameplay is fast and fun, and it just looks so nice. But again, it will be on sale all weekend on our shop, so feel free to hop over to insideofgames.com and buy some copies for yourselves and your friends. We're going to wrap this one up quickly because I'm already late for my next talk. Luckily, it's also with Rhys. So we'll sign off here, and then we'll come back in moments and talk about Sea Change, which we did following up from Seven Souls. So thank you so much for everyone tuning in. Thanks, Rhys, for spending the time. And again,
thank you, Conor.
Anyone who needs an amazing artist, I would highly recommend reaching out to Rhys. How can they do that?
So if you go to Rhys Gwyn, which is my name, rhysapgwyn.artstation.com, it's where my portfolio is, and it has all my details there.
Perfect. And for anyone who's on BGG, he is linked, obviously, as the artist for the games. So you can get in there and you can spell his name properly. That's very important. All right. Well, thank you so much. And we'll end this stream, and we'll be back in moments.